Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ. Times 9:18 on this 8th day of January. And for the first time in a while, I guessed, and because I told you, Martha, there was for a couple of days here, I talked to you on the phone, and I thought, I know I got it right on the phone. But yeah. Because there's a lot of pressure, you know? Yeah. Well, because I really do mean that. So when you came in and said, you got it right, CJ.
Yes, Pfister. Yeah, I know.
What a great icebreaker.
I know. I didn't know when I married into that name how many times people on the phone would say, whose sister? And I'm like, no. It's.
I love it. Well, I really appreciate your time today. And, families getting back into the groove of the second semester starting for the school district in Alton here, and then the Consolidated Election right around the corner. And you're busy. You're running for Ward 2 Alderwoman. And right off the bat, Martha, how are things looking for you?
Good. It's been exciting. I've loved just connecting with people to find out more about other people who have ran for various offices, whether it's at the city level or a different level. It's fascinating to learn about how to run a campaign. And I love finding out what people are doing in Alton, like whether they're department heads or they're on a school board. Mm-hmm. It's been awesome. So yeah, it's really exciting also just to get encouragement from people. When I tell people what I'm doing, they're just excited. So
really cool.
It's been good.
Well, take me through some of your background here in the city, mm-hmm. and just a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so I'm from Alton. I moved away for a while, so I like to tell people I am an Altonian by birth, but I'm also an Altonian by choice. So mm-hmm. I moved away for college, and I was away for about 14 years, and then my husband and I were looking for someplace else to raise our kids, and we're like, oh my goodness, Alton is where we want to do it. So this is where we chose to be. I love Alton. So I've been back here for almost, I guess, 5.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of got back in when all the fun was starting to, and all the all the development, and you had really some fun stuff to be a part of too.
Yeah, there was a lot of excitement when we were coming back. I even remember when I wasn't living here, hearing about all kinds of things going on with the small business revolution mm-hmm. and all of that. So that was exciting to see from afar. Really cool.
Yeah. Well, and whenever you're making this decision, because it's not an easy one, mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to local elections, because you're putting yourself out there, and then you're doing it in front of your neighbors and your inner circle and your friends and family. What were some of the conversations you had, with maybe yourself, with your husband, your family as mm-hmm. At whole, your friends, mm-hmm. To really make this decision and jump?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was something I wanted to do that I felt called to do and excited about, but it was a good conversation I had with my husband. Mm-hmm. He was like, what? This is not a job where, people have opinions about everything.
Right.
So he was like, how are you going to feel if somebody says this or doesn't like a decision you make? So that was a lot of it, but I was excited about it when I've been telling, and he's super supportive.
That's cool.
I should say that.
Good job.
I need to make sure I follow up on that. Yeah, no, he's very supportive, but wanted to make sure I thought about it. And just telling friends and people, they're like, wow, that's so exciting. Mm-hmm. They want to know how they can be a part of it. So it's been really cool to share with people about it. And I've even heard from people I ran for this position, this many years ago, mm-hmm. and it's really interesting to learn that about other people.
Well, and it seems like you're able to really learn that way a lot quicker too, and in more of a conversational way, because I'm one of those people that has to talk it through anyway when I'm learning the process. And when I talk to prospective candidates of any race, I always find the conversations they have with their loved ones so fascinating, because you're right. I mean, just like the show, people are always going to have something to say about it, and really cool that everyone's jumping on board and saying, hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
Well, what were some of the things you saw, in your neighborhood that, led to you going, maybe this is something I need to do?
Yeah. A lot of it is just, I love Alton. Like I said, I chose to be here. So I have a lot that I feel like I could bring to the city and that I could bring to the position. So it wasn't even all just about problems I see, but of course there's definitely things that could be changed. I have young kids, so in my neighborhood, there's so many parks in Alton, so just wanting to make sure that they're accessible. Are they are they in good shape? Are they something that a family who wants to move to Alton can see and be like, oh, wow, this community cares about families. They care about kids. Like sidewalks, like been pushing kids down those brick sidewalks that are
a little
all
bit challenging.
They're overgrown. And like, I can't, it's stuff like, it's little things like that just like improving the quality of life for families.
But, I really think that's such an interesting thing that you just said, too, because a lot of times when someone comes on, especially nowadays, because just all the political interviews and stuff, it just seems like election season's all the time anymore. Yeah. Everyone's always running on maybe issues or angry, and it's nice. It's refreshing, Martha, to hear it. Not everything's about, the negatives. It's just about wanting to be a part of this and help, Yeah. Really cool.
Well, something I feel like I notice about negatives in Alton is that I think we all love Alton, and we all have maybe disagree about how to love Alton. What does it mean to love Alton? Like, what does it mean to do good things for Alton? And I think that's where a lot of the disagreements come from.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah. Well, take me through just, you have to get petitions first to get on the ballot. That's always nerve-wracking to start knocking on doors and take me through maybe that first couple of door knocks that you had and those conversations you had with some of the constituents in Ward 2.
Yeah, that was a really good, I think, starting point for me. So I know a lot of people in Ward 2. I went to them, but I didn't want to just be in my neighborhood. So I'm in the Middletown area, but Ward 2 is like huge.
It's big.
It's not just that area, everything down Albee. There's so many fantastic neighborhoods over there. So it was a really good opportunity for me to get to like look at the map, see where the neighborhoods are, see who I know is where, and kind of pick some little areas that I'm not as familiar with. So those first few doors are kind of hard. Like learning how to knock in a friendly way, like little things like that, like how long do I wait at the door, stuff like that. And that's things I'm going to be doing a lot more this spring. Yeah.
Well, and honestly, it's one of those things where, 40 years ago, knocking on the door was a little easier for everybody. But now, we're in 2024 where people are a little bit nervous about answering the door. It's not you personally or anybody that comes to the door.
They're looking at me on the Ring doorbell. I'm like, hi. Nice. I have a question.
Well, that's what I find really cool, too, is hearing that. Is you're exploring your ward a little bit and just, learning more about the city through the campaign. And I think that's very interesting to hear.
Yeah, it is. For instance, I talked to a couple who live up more closer to just away from Middletown, like up down up Pius on Bell Street, and just learning about some issues they're seeing with like what's going on with the McKinley School building. And it's like, yes, that's in the ward. Like, it's really good to connect with people who aren't just in my exact neighborhood, because it's a big ward.
It really is. And that's something that it's one of those things where I don't think people realize really sometimes, because there's folks that don't necessarily know what ward they're in when they're moving into town, and not picking on them. It's just the way it goes.
Know.
Yeah, it's a jigsaw puzzle.
They piece together. So
Well, and take me through, you spoke earlier about, meeting with some of the folks that maybe ran for other offices. Was there a bit of advice that kind of stuck out to you early, that you've heard that you're kind of keeping with you as you're going down the campaign trail?
Yeah, there's been a lot of really practical advice, but definitely everyone's just been reminding me to think about my why. Why am I running?
Yeah.
Just being ready to answer that. And it is all, sometimes I know it in my heart, but it's hard to put into words sometimes.
Yeah.
So it is a funny question.
Well, and now whenever you're talking about that why, and you're going, and obviously there's improvements everywhere that could be made, but, talking about it in a way that wanting to help and bringing that positive, aspect to it. Was there, anybody that you saw in the last couple of years, any projects or anything that's been going on that inspired you, that kind of gave you that final bit of inspiration to go, I'm going to be a part of public service, or I want to be a part of this team too?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think there's been a lot of things I've seen. So when something that I just love about Alton is how connected everyone is. So I, for several years, lived in Chicago, and I worked for a nonprofit working with I worked with public schools, I worked with social service agencies, and coming here, I'm realizing how hard it was sometimes to connect to people because it was so big. And so I've seen so many projects that people take on, like people have an idea and, they go to Sarah McGivney, or they go to Jacoby, or they go post. There's so many, like, everybody's connected. There's a space for people to do things. And I don't know if I'm answering your question, but feels like, I mean, there's so many ways that people start things. There's like a lot of grassroots efforts of people like just starting organizations, starting businesses, getting connected.
Well, and that's what I was just kind of wondering, because there's always that kind of moment, you know, where it's, you know, something happens where it's just that moment of inspiration, because it just seems like, you know, coming in 5 years and you're seeing all this happen. It's great to, you know, hey, let's be a part of this, you know, and just trying to figure it out a little bit more. With that being said, you know, April 1st is election day. And I've been asking every candidate this, from Godfrey, Alton, and wherever. Yeah. Do you have to convince people that it actually is on April 1st?
I know. It's so comical. I know. I've been thinking, like, what kind of joke could I make with this?
There you go.
Like, there's a lot that could be said.
Well, and what are you learning just about the position of city alderperson? You know, just because whenever I first got into just kind of seeing how things go, you really do learn a lot just about the functions of it. Is there something that you've learned about just some of the things that you've learned about the position that you've shared with folks about maybe what the role is? Because I think sometimes that's a disconnect from constituents, is they maybe think that an alderperson could do a little bit more, or maybe a little bit less even than what they potentially could do. And just curious to know if that's something that you've been talking with folks about too.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. You know, a lot of people, when you talk to them, they're like, well, what side of the aisle are you on? It's very political, and it's like, you know, this is the city. It's nonpartisan, and so our city officials represent everyone, and we all care about the same issues, like roads and parks and schools. So
I like that.
Yeah, I think, you know, just looking at it as like it's a legislative process for the city, and it's I think the goal is making the quality of life better for all. Wherever you are in Alton.
Well, and honestly, you're right. Everyone always thinks that it's got to be a partisan issue anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, whatever you see on TV is not necessarily what needs to happen here, because potholes really don't make it. There's not a Republican pothole. There's not a Democrat pothole. They're just a pothole.
we all hate potholes.
So with that being said, you got a moment to stick around, take a quick break. We'll come back, chat for a few more.
Yeah.
It's 9:29, a little bit of change on this Wednesday morning, the 8th day of January. More Daily Show comes down the pipeline on Roku TV, RiverBender.com right after this.
Ready for fantastic deals? Head to Village Dispensary, where every day is a celebration. Start your week with 25% off dog Walker pre-rolls on Monday. Tuesday, enjoy 25% off Divs gummies. On Wednesday, enjoy 30% off Nevada pens. On Thursday, it's 30% off CQ sodas, margaritas, and more. Friday, enjoy 3.5 grams of Megatron by NGW and Cronuts number 4 by Paul Bunyan for $25. Visit VillageDispo.com and shop now.
Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
Do you need to declutter your space? Time to call me, the Queen of Junk. Since 1993, we have grown to be the leader in residential, commercial, and property management junk removal. At Sparks Junk Removal, we are eco-friendly. We recycle, donate, or repurpose items back into our community. Trash is our last resort to the landfill. Plus, with our all-inclusive service, our crews handle everything from labor to lifting and landfill fees. Give us a call or visit our website, sparksjunkremoval.net, to reclaim your space today.
Looking for the best barbecue in Madison County? Head over to Carver's Barbecue in Godfrey, Illinois. From loaded barbecue nachos to mouth-watering pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more, Carver's serves up award-winning flavors you'll love. Family-owned, Carver's is all about fresh, made in-house dishes served daily. Come visit us at 2716 Groveland in Godfrey, or give us a call at 618-467-9999. Order online, get it catered, or stop by for the best smoked meats around. Where great flavors meet family tradition, you'll find Carver's Barbecue.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
9:32, welcome back. 8th day of January. You know, getting back into this conversation, it is so interesting how I always feel like local elections, and a lot of people feel this way, are the most important because, all the decisions come back to directly affecting us in town and, compared to, relatively speaking, a federal election to where some of the bills might affect us, some of them won't. But, the voter turnout's always a little bit lower. And I always find that a little bit fascinating. And that's why I love having these conversations, just to inform people when Election Day is. Go out and vote on April 1st. And with that being said, Martha, I know that you wanted to, you were talking to me just about a couple of things that you wanted to implement, like ward meetings and a little bit more just in regards to communication. Take me through that.
Yeah, I really want to, I've been focusing on community, collaboration, and connection. And so we've talked a little bit about the collaboration and community, but connecting, I really want to just make everyone feel like they can come to the table. And so I know for me, when I've gone to city council meetings and I've spoken, and I like this stuff, like I like being involved in this. And even with that, it's scary. Like you get up to that podium, everybody's staring at you, they time you, you got to sign up to speak. You don't know, there's not a conversation. You say some stuff, you go sit down. And then you're like, did I say it right? Did I come across intelligent? Like, did they
then you're checking RiverBender, and making sure it came across okay.
Yeah, so it's hard and it's really scary. And so I just want to make it easier for people to come to their alderperson. So, if that's your thing and you want to go to those meetings, that's great. If it doesn't meet with your schedule, with your work or family, or you just don't want to go, I don't think that should be the only way that you can get your voice across. So I just really want to bring the ward together through meetings, through opportunities for one-on-one meetings, just sending out some updates via email if people want to sign up for that, just keeping everybody connected to each other and also connected to City Hall.
Would they be like monthly meetings or quarterly meetings? Do you have an idea yet?
That's a great question. I know that some wards do monthly. They would be one of the two. I think monthly would be great.
Yeah.
Because if it's just a standing thing that people know, like I have this issue, there's that meeting, they could be short. And so I've been thinking about like when would they be, where would they be if that happens. But yeah, I think monthly would be great. So people always know that that's when they can come and find something out or voice a concern.
Absolutely. And going forward too, in terms of communication, it's, is it one of those things where maybe like a newsletter or anything down the pipeline that you're thinking of too? Or
yeah, I'd love to do a newsletter. I know people are on Facebook a lot. I mean, newsletters are nice because, you can get directly to people and they can opt in if they want to, but just letting people know here's some stuff going on in the city. It does. Here's something that is going on in our neighborhoods. Here's where you can call Public Works if you need something done. Just things like that to make it easier for people.
Yeah, and not putting words in your mouth, but just kind of following up on that communication thing a little bit more. And, with that being said, too, do you think that, with the GroupMe's of the world and the Neighborly apps or the neighborhood app, I never forget which one it's called, Neighbors. Yeah, Nextdoor. Yeah. Do you think that those things could make it easier for you, too, to maybe communicate?
Nextdoor has not always been my favorite.
Yeah, because I don't know how they work. I just hope I'm not on the Ring doorbell, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Nextdoor is tricky too. I think it just depends how many people are on it.
That makes sense.
I get notifications and they're coming from neighborhoods that I don't even know. I'm like,
Wait,
I don't think that's Alton. I get all kinds of notifications. So
I didn't know how it worked. Yeah, that's
I think it depends on what your constituents are using. And so, I still do email. I know a lot of young people don't, so maybe I'm out of touch. I don't know, but it's just trying to figure out how do people want to be in touch, and I'm willing to figure out whatever they want to do.
When you're talking to folks, what are their concerns? Just going back into that, because I think that's always really fascinating around this time. Is it a communication issue that you're hearing from residents? Is it an infrastructure issue with sidewalks and roads is their biggest issue? Is it crime? What's been the top of mind for them?
mean, infrastructure is always a thing. I feel like that's just a go-to. So everybody wants better roads, especially in the winter. Potholes get worse. But I think that there have been some crime issues, and so that's a really collaborative effort. Of course, like, our police officers are dealing with the brunt of that. I think also, though, having that connection and community where you know what's going on in your neighborhood and you know your neighbors and you know just what's happening is always going to be a good thing. And also just taking care of your neighborhood and feeling like you belong there, showing that sense of pride in a community shows outsiders, like, we care, we're watching, that this is not a neighborhood where we allow those kinds of things to happen. So I think there's a lot of factors in that, and it's hard to pinpoint what it is, but definitely everybody wants to feel safer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't...
Yeah, and I just find it, because the more that I talk to candidates from prospective wards, it's just interesting to see what's the top priority of each ward, truly. Because, I always find Alton just a little bit fascinating, because of all the places, it's like Alton's 7 neighborhoods that make up one town. It's just like, it just seems like a lot of times we're all like a ward's their own island, and it's just, and it's not because we don't like each other, it's just because we all have just kind of a different lifestyle or just different, different ways our neighborhoods look, in terms of Middletown being historic, and then you go to maybe a more, modernized kind of prefab houses in North Alton and all of that, which is still cool. That's where I live. So it's just, I always find that interesting, just to see really what's on the top of mind, just perspective to each neighborhood, And
for sure.
With Ward 2, you're just going back to that with what you said, how big it is. That's what I think is very fascinating, because you do have, I believe yours is the biggest ward.
Yeah, I believe it
Ward
is.
2
just from, kind of looking at, how many signatures were required, looking at the map and looking at voter turnout.
How many did you have to get?
The minimum was 35, which was not a lot. I shot for getting double that, just because, in case there was any issues doubling up or somebody moved or any issues with signatures. But it was a really great opportunity for me to, like I said, get into different neighborhoods and talk to people. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I just think, because you really do have a little bit more of work to do, and candidates across Ward 2 do alike compared to other wards, because you do have a lot of different neighborhoods and a lot of stretch to carry there.
It really is. And where I am in my neighborhood in Ward 2, I'm on the edge. So I have neighbors like this way in Ward 1. I've got them this way in Ward 3. Like, so many of my neighbors are like, oh, like, I'm so excited to vote for you. And I'm like, I wish you could. I'm in a different ward. So it's a great learning opportunity for me to get into other wards and learn what's going on there. Well, and or not wards, but other neighborhoods within Ward 2.
I get you. Yeah. Well, and what do you think? You were talking a little bit before, about your nonprofit work and just some of the stuff you did before. What do you think's truly going to help prepare you for this role if elected?
Yeah, great question. It's funny, people are always saying, that a job doesn't come with a manual or there's no book about it. There are so many books, CJ. I have checked them all out. The interlibrary loan system is fantastic. So I've been reading up a lot on just like how to run a local campaign, but also like local issues, how so much in our country can be divided nationally, but at the local level, we can do so much more. So I've been preparing a lot in that way, and also just getting to know people, finding out. I've been meeting with department heads or like school board members, different things like that, and just asking, do you work with the city? And if you're not working a lot with the city, is there an opportunity for you to be more supported by council, and like what would that look like?
When you're that's a really good follow-up. When you're having those conversations with department heads currently, or school board members, or any entity that's outside the city council members, are you surprised by their answers to some of those questions? And not necessarily saying that they aren't working well with them, or or maybe they're working great, but I feel like sometimes that would be my biggest takeaway, would be going, man, I'm surprised that's going so well, or it's not going, so well, just dependent on what situation. I
think the most consistent response I get is just an appreciation for being asked.
Yeah.
I think that all the departments have a lot on their plates, and so just having that question of how they could be supported better. Yeah. And it's just been interesting for me to just understand how like city hall employees function a little bit better. My mom worked for the city for many years, so she worked in building and zoning of the city for a little bit, and then she retired last year from the fire department as their secretary. So I've always like kind of known, who's in what position and what they do, but it's been nice to kind of dive back in and learn a little bit more about that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and it's good for anybody that's kind of following along, especially if they're in Ward 2, to know that, candidates are doing the research and the work needed too. Martha, with that being said, we've talked for about 20 minutes now.
Yeah.
And before I let you go, we have a couple of months until April. You're always welcome back at any time to fill us on how the race is going. Is there anything else for right now that you want to get out?
Just if people want to learn more, I have a Facebook page. So, Matha Pfister for Ward 2. But my website is a pretty good place to go, MathaPfister.com. So if you're not sure if you're registered to vote, I've got a link to check. And if you are not sure where your polling place is, I've got a link to check where that is. So a big thing is just activating voters and making sure that it's a big turnout.
Absolutely. Yeah. With that being said, we'll link access to Martha's Facebook page and website on a write-up on RiverBender.com as we have more conversations leading up to the April 1st Consolidated Election. Best of luck. And now, question for you, because this is what I always, this is the real question, because April elections are just awful, because you got to go out in the snow and the cold and start knocking. When are you going to resume the neighborhood knocks or getting out and just talking to people? Because that's always the rough part about this time of year.
I mean, I hate the clothes, not the weather. I'll bundle up. I'm ready to go. And so I will have, if anyone's interested in yard signs, like those will be available early February. But that's kind of the plan now, is making that schedule. So
there you go.
Yeah, you might be having me knock on your door. It won't take too much time.
She's not selling you anything, just talking about the race.
I'm not selling solar. I'm not selling candy.
That's good. We'll take a quick break at 9:43. We'll come back with more Daily Show next.